Today I am here to talk about one of the hottest topics nowadays, Aleppo city of Syria, the clash between Kurdish self-defense forces and so-called Syrian army. Before we begin, I want to clarify something. During this video, I will be saying Kurdish self-defense forces rather than Syrian democratic forces, and I will call Syrian army as so-called Syrian army. These details are important, and most of the analysts I found are telling almost the same things, but they are missing some important points. And in this video, I'm gonna try to touch these topics. Once again, guys, please support me with your likes and share the video and leave your comments. I really enjoy reading your comments. And I'm here to tell you something untold in other analyses. And I'm trying to see the things from a different scope, realistic scope, rather than saying the same cliches. We don't like cliches in this channel, right? So let's dive in. Well, first of all, for those who don't know, there are two Kurdish enclaves in Aleppo city, again, the second largest city of Syria. These two enclaves are called Sheikh Maksud and Eşrefiye. To highlight it, these are not cities. These are neighborhoods, only neighborhoods in Aleppo city. They are not province, and they are not huge cities, you know. So these cities are two rare Kurdish-controlled place in western Euphrates River. That's important because most of the Kurdish controlled areas are the eastern bank of Syria, not the west. These two enclaves are kind of exceptions, I can say. And regarding the reason why I'm not saying Kurdish Democratic Forces, the Kurdish Democratic Forces are the main army of Kurdish army operating in eastern Syria, mostly east and north Syria, but they are not existing in Aleppo. I mean, in April 2025, they already withdrew their forces from Aleppo, these two neighborhoods, Sheikh Maksud and Eşrefiye. So there is no official Syrian Democratic Forces troop in these two enclaves, these two neighborhoods. However, the governmental institutions are still under control of Rojava administration, so there is kind of autonomy in the cities, not military-wise, but the administration-wise. And when these things exist, it's enough for Turkey to attack Kurds, right? So who are attacking who? Officially, the Syrian Arab Army is attacking the Kurdish forces, Kurdish self-defense forces in Aleppo. But both Turkish and Syrian social media figures are cheering up that their Uzbek, Uyghur, and other Central Asian friends are joining them to attack Kurds. They are very happy about that. They are kind of admitting that it's not Syrian army, but they are very happy. They seem very happy to share this information with the rest of the world, which is interesting to me. I mean, these people, Uzbeks, Uyghurs, and other Central Asian people, are not Syrians, obviously, right? But non-Syrians in Syrian army are attacking Syrian Kurds in Aleppo. Can you see this complexity? Let me repeat. Non-Syrians in Syrian army are attacking Syrian Kurds in Aleppo. So this is why I'm calling it so-called Syrian army. I mean, Syrian army itself is not united one. It's not under one control. In my previous video, which you will find the link over here, I already explained that Syrian army, Syrian governments are not unified. There are two cliques, one Turkish-backed SMA and one Jolani-backed or Jolani-led Al-Qaeda, former Al-Qaeda and ISIS leftovers. So, and in addition to that, there's non-Syrians are fighting in Syrian army, is the reason that I'm calling it so-called Syrian army. So, and remember in the video I just mentioned, which you will find the link over here, I mentioned that there is an unspoken agreement between Jolani government and Jolani himself and Turkey. So according to this unspoken agreement, the northern part of Syria is controlled by Turkish-backed elements like Syrian National Army, or formerly known Free Syrian Army, and other stuff like Sultan Murad Battalion or something like that. So Aleppo is staying in the north. So that means Aleppo is under according to the unspoken agreement, should be under control of Turkey and Turkish-backed elements. But Jolani, on the other hand, is allowed to control Damascus and the surrounding. But I just mentioned the Syrian and Turkish social media accounts. I mean, these accounts are, kind of troll. I mean, they are kind of close to the government. So when they say something, you should take it seriously. They are not just social media accounts. Even though we are far to verify, we can accept their reports are true. So according to their reports, non-Syrian elements, like I mentioned, Uzbeks and Uyghurs and Central Asian troops, obviously the Al-Qaeda elements, which affiliated to Jolani camp, is joining Aleppo. So, given this unspoken agreement I just mentioned, it seems that Turkey somehow convinced Jolani to join his fights against Kurds. Like previously I said, Jolani is not interested in northeast of Syria. He just wants to control Damascus and the surrounding. He just wants to make sure that the country, at least the capital city, is controlled by his Al-Qaeda ideology. So he doesn't have any interest in fighting Kurds, obviously. But Turks somehow convinced him to join the war against Kurds. So this joining of Uzbeks and Central Asian Al-Qaeda elements showing that very clearly. And there's another interesting things. If you remember last week, there were some allegations on the media and social media about military coup against Jolani. Some says it was military coup. Jolani himself wanted. He's currently in a Turkish hospital, and some says he was killed. Some says he was jailed by Turkey because he didn't bow against Turkish demands. These are allegations, and we cannot confirm. We cannot verify this, but it is very interesting that the clash in Aleppo came to at the same time while people are talking about this allegations. So it is very interesting, and to me, it cannot be that coincidence. If you know the Middle East and Syria and Turkey, that's hard to believe that these things are coincidence. So why do they attack the small enclaves, Kurdish enclaves? To be honest, guys, these two enclaves, the Kurdish enclaves, are not strong. They're not powerful. I mean, they're too weak. Like I said, there is no Syrian Democratic Forces. There is no heavy weapons over there. No tanks. No, of course, no airplanes or nothing. Only rifles and perhaps some kamikaze drones and other light weapons. So, are this place strategic at least? That can be a reason for Turkey attacking there. Well, somehow, I mean, yeah, these two enclaves are staying on some highways, which is important, but it's not that essential, It's not that essential. I mean, you cannot explain the things in logic every time when it comes to Turkey and Turkish foreign minister and domestic affairs. Basically, they want to rid off these two Kurdish enclaves from Aleppo, which is important for Turkey. I mean, Aleppo itself is strategic, but not these two neighborhoods. They just want to remove the Kurds from these two enclaves. That's the only reason. I mean, sometimes you should leave the logic over there, okay? You should put the logic aside. You have to remember how Kurds are big trouble for Turkey. And other thing, racism in Syria, racism towards Kurds in Syria, dates back to even before independence of Syrian country as a country. I mean, post World War One. The racism against Kurds starts from there, and during Assad regime and before Assad regime, this Ba'athist regime and ideology has never been big fan of Kurds. They also oppress Kurds in many ways, like racism increase against Kurds, Arabic nationalism, and so on. So that also explains why. I mean, we already know why Turkey hates Kurds. We also can understand why other elements of Syria are hating Kurds. So what's happening right now? Well, in a geopolitical lens, we are in a period that Turkey and Saudi Arabia are getting closer to each other. I mean, look at Yemen and East Africa. You will understand what I mean. There's a huge advance of Saudi against somehow Israel and the United Arab Emirates. And at the same time, Turkey is gearing up in Syria. And that's a clear coordination between two elements, two actors in the Middle East, right? It cannot be coincidence either. And secondly, like I always say, you cannot understand Turkish foreign policy without knowing its domestic affairs. So we have to look at what's happening in Turkey right now. Right now in Turkey, there's a peace process with Kurds, and it has started like more than a year ago. But to be honest, even it took more than 1 year. It's loaded with words, but no actions. So words are cheap when there is no action. The peace process is somehow continuing, but people are not seeing any solid effect on the ground. And in the recent days, Turkish government and Turkish government affiliated media give signal that the peace process is not that much essential for the government. I mean, it's subject of other video, but if you remember, 10 years ago there was another peace process between Turkey and the Kurdish forces, and it has been destroyed by Turkish government because it was harming in the elections. The peace process was not helping the government in the elections. So when they see no benefit, they feel free to jeopardize the process. So this is what they are saying. The peace process is not that much important. It's not that much essential for Turkish side, the signal they are giving to the public. And in my opinion, it seems that the peace process is a tool for Turkey to gain time in Syria, which they did. I mean, they got the time they need. Now we came in period that Saudi needs Turkey. They're approaching each other because of other reasons like East Africa and Yemen, and Iran is in trouble. So Turkey gained the time that he needs because of thanks to the process. So factor of Israel is very important as well. We are not seeing a strong support from Israel to Kurds, right? Like we saw in Sweden, last summer. Israel backed Sweden, Druzi, and they are often mentioned about the right of minorities. But when it comes to Kurds, there is no action from Syria. At the same time, in the parallel, Kurds are blaming Israel, and Israel is doing vice versa. So both sides are blaming each other for not cooperating. And to be back to Turkey, it has been a long time that Turkey has been blaming Kurds of cooperating with Israel. It's one of the main concerns of Turkey. However, today it is very clear that it's crystal clear that there is no cooperation between Kurds and Israel. So if there was a cooperation, perhaps Turkey wouldn't be that free to operate in Israel, in Aleppo, right? So it's an irony. While Turkey and Syrians, I mean Jolani government, are blaming Kurds of cooperating Israel. Actually, they are signing agreements with Israel, like last week in Paris. The agreement signed between two parties, Israel and Jolani government. It seems that Israel left the northern part of Syria to the Turkey. So that agreement seems to be one of the reasons why Turkey and Turkish affiliated groups are attacking Kurds in Aleppo right now. So in the new geopolitical order of Middle East and Syria, it seems that the northern Syria is sphere of influence of Turkey, and southern part of Syria, which is bordering Israel, is sphere of influence of Israel. That's the new order, apparently. So the conclusion is that, guys, Kurds once again found themselves without friends. They are weak. They're already weak, and even though they are cooperating with USA and U.S. Army, Pentagon on the ground, Syria, the U.S. often says that the cooperation is only covering the eastern part of Syria, not the west. And since Aleppo is the western Syria, I don't expect any cooperation, any help from the U.S. to the Kurds. So, yeah, Kurds are getting stronger in military. They are gaining new skills like drones, kamikaze drones, and other stuffs. But I mean, Turkey is powerful already, right? It's more powerful than Kurdish forces at all. So most likely, my analysis is most likely that these two enclaves will be under control of Turkish-backed groups, Turkish-backed Syrian National Army, and so-called Jolani government. And Kurds will live there. I mean, not Kurdish population. I'm talking about the Kurdish administration. But yeah, once the Kurdish administration is not there, perhaps the Kurdish civilians will have bad time. They will pass through hard times. So apparently they will be forced, either will be forced or they will leave the Aleppo with their will, which means also being forced actually. So the lesson Kurds should take actually, if I may, I want to give some advice to the Kurds. They have to improve their diplomatic skills as much as their military skills. I mean, in the military, they already proved that they are very strong, they are very skillful, they are very smart and intelligent when it comes to fighting. They kicked out ISIS, they kicked out Al-Qaeda elements. They're fighting not only in Syria, in Turkey and Iraq. They have been fighting two regimes for more than a century, half century. In Turkey, they are fighting against the second largest army of NATO, which is Turkey. And Iraq, they fought against Saddam's army, which was very strong in his time. So Kurds are good fighters, all we know that. But when it comes to diplomacy, Kurds are lacking of skills. So I will say Kurds are suffering because of lack of diplomatic skills. They literally have no friend. I mean, until last week, if you have asked me, I could say France is one of the best friends of Kurds in Syria and one of the biggest supporters of Syria, even more than US, I can say, at least under Trump administration. But the agreement signed between Israel and Jolani in Paris should be a very big disappointment for Kurdish forces. So apparently they have no diplomatic friends. Look at those people in Sweden. They are getting support of Israel. They are cooperating with Israel. But on the other hand, Kurds are not very willing to show this cooperation. I mean, they say there's no cooperation, and apparently there is no cooperation. But even there was one, they wouldn't show it very openly, apparently. So once again, my humble analysis is that Kurds are suffering because of lack of diplomatic skills. They should increase their diplomatic skills as much as military skills. Otherwise, they are losing, and the worst days will come, I can say. So that's pretty much all, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and